What is up, RotoGrinders? It is 5:30 on the East Coast, an hour and a half into kickoff. No, it's tip-off. We're playing basketball. Five gamer in the association. It is in-season tournament. It is NBA Cup. It is Emirates Cup. Lots of playoff implications on the line. Not playoff. Emirates Cup implications on the line. Chops Rockets have a pretty important game. We'll be talking about that in a second. The Heat versus the Bucks, two teams that don't like each other. Their game matters as well. Houston versus Minnesota is a big deal. And, of course, the Lakers and the Suns. Lots of Emirates Cups implications. Everybody in the front end of a back-to-back with the exception of Milwaukee because every team plays tomorrow except for Milwaukee and one other team. I can't remember who it is. But yeah, everybody I believe is on the front end in this slate. Might be the Bulls actually. Should double check that. But yeah, we got a 5-gamer, just a baby slate. That's why we're on a little bit late. We didn't want to just drone on for an extra half hour. Certainly, I could have done it. I could have filibustered with it. Give me a 2-gamer in an hour and a half. Challenge accepted. You know, what would help me out is Head Chopper. Chopper, how are things? How's Tuesday treating you?
It's a little, it's a little hectic in there, getting ready for all the slates coming up this weekend and, everything else. And then I'm also trying to navigate around Gladiator 2 tonight in the movie theater, which I'm going to try to get out of here.
I was trying to remember which movie you were going to. I know you talked about it on a previous show, and I couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
He was tilting on a previous show like 5 days in advance, afraid that he was scheduled for a show, but Chop, if you have to leave like 2 minutes before you get out, obviously, by all means, no worries. But do you have to get and see all the trailers and get your popcorn? You got to be situated. You have to be like the first person in the theater.
No, I don't need to be the first person. I don't need to see the trailers, and I've got it's reserved seating, so I know where I'm going to sit. That's none of that's a big deal. But I would like to stand in line and get my soft pretzel before we, get seated, and then I got to get my soda water. I got to figure out what mix I want to go with, grape Sprite or whatever, strawberry Sprite. I don't know yet. I haven't got to look at the machine, but there's a lot that goes on into it before you actually get into your seat. Oh, and then when we sit down, I bring the big popcorn bowls, disposable popcorn bowls for the kids and the wife.
Yeah.
I divvy them all up, a bunch of popcorn. Then I got to go back and get the free refill before I sit down, before the movie starts. So I got the free refill, and they're all taken care of too, so we don't have any interruptions during the movie.
Isn't that like part of the reason why you have kids? You send one of the kids to get the refill. You don't have to go.
It's 2024, Dean. There's a lot of human trafficking out there. I'm not sending my kids to the lobby of a movie theater by themselves.
Not that far.
By themselves, man.
Who am I to tell somebody had a parent? But I think it would be okay. But I would feel terrible if something happened on the way to getting that popcorn refill. Tim, how are things? Have we seen Gladiator yet? Is that on the list? Do they have theaters they got theaters in Maine, right?
They do, yeah. Even on the island that I live on, they have one theater. So yeah, it's definitely on the list, and I will be watching it for sure. No question about it.
I can't do it, but I love the way Chop says theater. I can't quite. You guys hearing that too, or is that just me? The way he says it, I like the. I don't know if that's just natural, Chop, the way it kind of rolls off, but there's some words that just really are especially charming when you say it. And I say this with love. I don't say it. It's not a knock. I enjoy the way you said the word. I say theater, but maybe I'm saying it wrong. Do you hear this, Tim, or is it just me?
Well, I mean, Chop has his own distinct dialect. It's kind of hard to decipher everything that he's saying, but we get the gist of it, right?
I think so. Yeah, for sure. I like it. A little bit of
my favorite is when he says, "Oh, Tony."
Yeah,
that is by far, that makes me laugh every single time he says
the MVP. We're talking about Shohei.
Yes,
in case exactly. People are not aware.
Oh, yeah, oh Tony.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got a poll in chat as well. Producer Steve, best snack at the movies or sporting events: popcorn, hot dogs, soft pretzels, or chicken tenders. Huh? I think he was padding the list with chicken tender. Well, that's.
I was gonna say, never seen tenders at a movie theater.
You could do it, but Chop, you don't have the waiters and waitresses at the movie theater.
They're in some theaters. They're not in this particular. Like, well, the whole thing is a theater, but you know what I mean, like the showing, the viewing, whatever, the auditorium.
You
Some
don't
of
want to
them,
say it now? Don't be shy.
no, because the theater is the whole thing, right? It's all 17, 18 screens or whatever. The individual auditorium, some of them have servers, yes. This one does not. So, and besides, I don't want to send somebody else to do all that. I just do it myself. Now there is a Flix brew house. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Flix brew house.
Is that where they play older stuff, or I'm not sure what Flix is?
No, but they're an up and coming establishment. They don't have a whole lot of places out there right now, but boy, they serve. Not only do they serve food, they serve great food. Oof.
Okay, and alcohol too.
Yeah, if you partake in that,
sure, whatever. If you're a fan of the spirits on occasion. We just got the NBA injury report, the updated 5:30. I don't think anything changed. So the big news today, the 7:00 game, Washington and Chicago. We'll talk about it in a second. Not really major implications as far as the in-season tournament. I would imagine. I think both these teams are, I don't want to say eliminated, but likely not moving on. Yeah, the Bulls are 1-1. Washington's 0-2. Bulls are -4 as far as differential, and Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, all ahead. These are the 4 and 5 teams in that division. But a 244.5 total, that's just that's a DFS player's dream. It's high, it's fairly tight. Chicago's a 5-point favorite. We do have no pool party. I saw our guy J3 in chat was asking about pool. Well, Jay, I don't know if you're just messing around. You're probably just messing around. But pool is not available tonight. So open some stuff up there for Washington. Other things we are waiting for. Miami fringe stuff. No, I guess we got clarity. Highsmith, Jovic, Rozier, all available. Jalen Green, I guess, is kind of the big one for Houston. If he doesn't go, Amin Thompson will be fully unleashed. He's fine as is, but he would get a big bump, presumably. Would start in a big game for Houston. Mike Conley also questionable too. Joe Ingles questionable. Who cares? Clarkson, we have him officially ruled out already. That's basically what we're looking at, right? Sexton officially in, but maybe we get some news dropping throughout the show. But Tim, is this your first chop experience? You talk about some chopisms. I feel like you guys don't really do shows, but is this the first time or no?
This is definitely not my first chop experience, but it has been a long time since I've done a show with Chop.
There you go. Let's do it. Let's make this a memorable one. Tim, we're going to go game by game in just a second. Crunch time comes in about 50 minutes or so. I believe it is Neil and Taylor and Roth. They'll take you guys all the way up to lock, answer your questions, whatever questions we do not answer. But you want to give me the overview? I ran some optimal stuff, and I'm seeing a lot of Washington. I get it. I understand. They're pretty cheap. I'm seeing 3 or 4 Washington guys hitting optimals. A lot of big spends, too. A lot of big spend options on this slate. Giannis, of course, in a meaningful game. They don't play tomorrow. They want to win that game as far as the in-season tournament, so he probably can play 36, 37, 38, possibly, maybe. I think that's at least on the table. That game is close. Tim, give me the old overview. What are we seeing?
Yeah, it's just a pretty small slate. We could spend the entire next 50 minutes talking about Chicago, Washington, because they are far and away the most important game on this entire slate. If you get this game correctly, you're going to win money. I mean, that's the bottom line. Like how you build your teams or fade this game, however you do it. This game is by far the most important game on the entire slate. Like Dean mentioned, it's a 244.5 total. It's a pretty tight spread. The Wizards are down their highest usage player, Jordan Poole. We're projecting Brogdon to start. So, I mean, that's going to be a really interesting play, whether you want to play him or not. You're going to get a lot of exposure to this game in cash games. So if you're a cash game player, you're going to be playing, I don't know, probably 6 guys total from this game, five or six. And there's really not a lot of news that we're like waiting on. I don't think this is going to be a big news day. So I'm not too worried about, front loading my lineup with this amazing game. So I'm not too worried about missing value later on loading up on this first game, because I just don't think it's really something that we have to worry about on this slate. My next favorite game is probably San Antonio Jazz. We'll talk about them. Then I think there's some sneaky GPP appeal in the last game of the night, just because It's the last game of the night, and everyone's healthy for the Suns, and pretty much everyone's healthy for the Lakers as well. But I do think there's some large field GPP appeal in that game.
Suns haven't played in like 5 days or so, which is just the schedule did some weird things. They had a big break in their schedule for whatever reason. Tonight's schedule specifically, you said everybody's kind of healthy, but Chapa, hopefully you're not going to be in the theater, swapping out players, mid-gladiator, but just the way things go down, we have one 7 o'clock game, one 7:30 game, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. But look, things can happen. It's the NBA, it's the association, but it seems like outside of maybe if Jalen Green doesn't go at 8 o'clock, but hopefully, Chapa, are we preparing for this? Are we playing accordingly? You don't want to be in the mid thumb up, mid thumb down, and making the lineup changes.
No, I am. When I go when the movie starts, I silence my phone, and it does not come out of my pocket, Dean. I won't be partaking in that. If I get burnt, I get burnt. But I'm not going to worry about that. It's a smaller slate, like Tim said. It's just relative. Like you only got. We'll kick off and we'll know everything about the most important game on the slate right away, and after that, there's only 4 games left. After this, it's just not gonna. News isn't gonna flood in like it will tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, you either don't.
It's gonna be insane.
Yeah. So either you don't play tomorrow, if you have plans, you just don't play, or you better be ready. Tonight is not a big deal, like Tim said. And it's so much, Dean, that I'm in such a zone when I go to the movies. I have a top 5 matchup tonight with Houston and Alabama in college basketball. Top 5 matchup. I pushed it on the record on the DVR. I'm not even checking the score until I'm not even looking at my phone. It'll be tipping off when I'm in the theater. I'm not even checking.
Will you be able to avoid friends or social media, or you think you'll be able to fire up the game and avoid all the spoilers? Can you do it?
Well, I don't really have friends, so that's not an issue. And
I don't mean to laugh at that.
As long as
joking,
as long as I don't check the scores on my phone, I won't get spoiled on it. So, unless I'm walking by the bar and it's on the TV up there, but I won't look. But I'll be able to contain myself.
Chop, are we not friends? I just find out we're not friends. This is a rough way to find out. I thought
if you texted me the score of the game, if you texted me, period,
we're definitely not friends.
It'd be the first time. So I'm not really worried about you spoiling it.
I wouldn't do that to you. If I was on the fringe, that's one way to definitely go in the not friends bucket for sure. Okay, let's talk about it. We kind of teased it. The first game is the most interesting game, at least for our world, our perspective, most popular. 244.5 is the total. Monster number. Chicago is a 5-point favorite. We did get Jordan Poole ruled out. We are expecting Brogdon to draw the starts, as well as Koulibaly, Keyshawn George, Kuzma, Alexander Sarr, the rookie coming off, I believe, his best game of the season. Giddey, White, Tasuma, Levine, Vuk on the other side. As far as injuries, nothing really new. Patrick Williams is still out for Chicago. Washington, just Jordan Poole. But yeah, Chop, I'll throw it to you. This is 2 of the fastest teams in basketball, 2 of the worst defensive teams in basketball. You want to get all specific and technical, I can give the numbers. Yeah, Chicago 2nd fastest, Washington 4th fastest defensive rating. Washington the worst, Chicago the 3rd worst. They're on the podium as well. The podium you do not want to be on. So, we can't really ignore this game. Where do you want to start? Is this just a lot of people are going to make game stacks here pretty clearly.
Yeah, there's not really all that. You can pretty much grasp the game itself and how big it is by the fact that it's 10 points higher than the next closest game, total-wise, and 20 points higher than 3 of the other 4 games. It's just massively off the charts. That's all you need to really know about its potential. Where would I start? I guess, you start anywhere. I guess the Jordan Poole news is nice to have an even tighter rotation, more or less, for the Washington side. I guess Kuzma first, He's the guy who's going to – it seems like this kind of a style should suit his game, up and down the court, really frantic, and he's not much of a player that – plays under control a lot, so this should suit him. Gotta like him. The extra shots right there. George, next man up for Washington. I could see them. Alexander Sarr is going to be popular. He's the one guy. I wouldn't say fade anybody necessarily, but he's one of the guys that I wouldn't hate the fade on him if you wanted to. He's going to be maybe the most owned guy on the slate. I think the last numbers I saw had him in the 40s or close to it. Yeah, he's still a rookie and he still has his growing pains. So if you wanted to like go under the weight on that, I don't hate that one, but he's still a good play. Then you got to decide Carrington, Brogdon. Who do I want to go with in that scenario to replace some of those pool minutes? Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm kind of up in the air on that one, but they're all good. And then there's Bilal. Bilal is in the mix. I don't do the last name. He's a good player though.
You don't do it? You don't want to take a shot?
Koulibaly? Close? Okay. Yeah. We're good. Yeah, he's been exciting this year.
On the chop curve, you got it.
He's been an exciting player this year. They're all good, but the two fades from not fades, okay? I don't say fade anybody, but two guys in that lineup that I think potentially I could get away from the most are Sarr and Kispert. Kispert because he's kind of one-dimensional. If his outside shot's not falling, then you're in trouble there. On the flip side, Chicago, they all look good, man. I mean, the center, Vooch, you go in the middle with that scoring, he's going to thump them in the middle. Levine's been awesome. He's on the trading block. Maybe they're going to showcase him. Who knows how that's going to play, but you got to like him. Kobe White, always a play that when you look at his game logs, it's really bad or really good is a lot of what Kobe White's game is. Well, that's GPP perfect right there. If you give me the big ceiling and you can have the floor, that low floor, and I don't use him in cash. If you want to change it, Ayo DeSomo is gaining a lot of steam. Like when I did the survey this morning, there wasn't an injury for Chicago, but he wasn't. He's been gaining steam throughout the course of the day for some reason, and I like it. I liked him better in tournaments before I started seeing him pop up in some of the optimizers, but he's still in the mix. Giddey stuffs the sheet. Like they're all really good plays for Chicago right there. I would say that Vooch stands out because the other guys I mentioned all kind of play in the backcourt and they're going to eat each other a little bit, but Vooch is out there in the front court by himself. But I like everybody in the game. I'm not going to knock you for, like I said in the survey, I think that if I'm not running 150 tonight, but if I was, I might just set a rule and say, give me a minimum of 4 players total from this game in every single lineup at least. And I wouldn't mind it if it gave me some 5 and 6 man stacks from this game. I wouldn't even hate that, but this is definitely the place to go.
They're all pretty cheap, some exceptions. Levine, Vuk, nothing crazy as far as the price tag. Ownership right now in DK, Sarr is at 35%. There are 10 players in this game that are at least 19% as far as ownership, which is pretty wild. I'm like you too. I think I'm probably going to play 2 and 2 at least on each side and possibly up to 3. We'll see. I haven't figured it out just yet. We'll do it after the show. How about yourself, Tim? Are you setting any rules? We talked about Dallas yesterday. Different slate. There's a lot of cheap guys on Dallas. I think 4 got there. I'm pretty sure you made 4 in your main lineup as well. I cut it off at 3. It's different story, but similar to some extent. Any sort of max? Will we allow 4 players on Washington? Are we forcing some minimums? How are you attacking Chicago and the Wizards?
I think I would go minimum 3, max 4 Washington. I think I would make that rule. And then I think I'd go probably min 1 Chicago, probably allow myself to get the 3. I mean, the optimal right now has 7
of 8.
7 of 8 from this game. So I mean, this game is just so far and away the better way to, better than any other game. I agree with Chop. I would be most fearful of Sarr and Kispert. My favorite play from this game is Bilal Koulibaly, just because of the minutes that he's going to get. He should be playing. Yeah, I know that one. I don't know all of them, Dean, as you know. But yeah, I mean, Koulibaly is my favorite. Brogdon is probably my next favorite, followed by, then probably well, I don't know. It's close after that. Probably George. I really like Joe Val tonight. I was kind of surprised to see that his projected ownership was so high. I thought he'd be kind of sneaky coming off the bench, but I guess he's not going to be sneaky at all because. But I do really like him just because that price is so nice. And so if he gets any extra run at all, he should really crush that $4,800 price tag. So definitely, I do like him quite a bit. I'm wondering what happens with Kuzma. Like he's definitely like the most known player on Washington, but he's just been so bad this season. What was it? A leg injury that he's coming off of, Dean?
I think that is correct, but I did not write down the body. I can pull up the injury report. Hold on. Well, he's probably not on there, right?
Yeah, not only he's projecting for 21% ownership. I don't know. I ran Sims just now. I gotta see what my exposures are.
By the way, Valanciunas 1.38 DK fantasy points per minute. Obviously, he's just got to get in the court.
Yeah,
but if he can play like 20 minutes or so, he can get there. He's capable of hitting an outside shot, but he does a lot of damage inside. And we know the Bulls are the most vulnerable team as far as giving up points in the paint. I don't know if I'm going to play him in like my one main entry, whatever, but I'm not going to yell at you if you do.
I think I am.
Okay. Yeah. You get a cheap double. There's a small chance he starts tonight. Probably not. I'm just trying to make that happen. But then he would just be super popular. Yeah.
I don't think he starts, but I mean, he's going to get obviously plenty of run, or at least, I mean, probably like 24 minutes.
We're giving him 18.
Only 8, and he's projected that well off 18 minutes. That's crazy.
Almost 1.4 DK fantasy points per minute this season. He's
man, if he could just somehow get like 22 this game, he's going to absolutely dominate. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna fade Kuzma, but I mean certainly that is risky. I'm getting to about 24% of him in Sims. He's certainly not a bad play, but I think I'm kind of neutral to it. I just prefer some of these other guys. Sar is gonna be like Chop said, he's gonna possibly be the highest owned player on the slate. That's a little bit terrifying to me. I think that I prefer some of these other Washington players more than him, but I mean, obviously, this is just such a good matchup.
But he's like 19 and raw and still learning, and he's had a lot of mediocre games. It's probably a good fade. It probably is for tournaments. I kind of hear that part. Like I'm not saying don't play him, but if he's going to be heavily owned and there's other pieces in this game, I'm trying to think. Sar and you probably don't play him in the same lineup as Book. As Joval? Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, I was talking to Blunder about that earlier on Blunder's show about Sar and Joval together. That is kind of interesting. I don't know. I really wouldn't want to play them together.
Let's see if they've played together at all this season. I'm guessing they haven't, but I don't know. I'm going to run it in Court IQ. See, I had Jordan Poole off the court. Joval the biggest bump, by the way, as far as usage with Poole off the court. So they have played 24 minutes together this season, Sar and Joval, for what it's worth. They haven't done. Joval did nothing. That's interesting. Joval 0.57 DK points per minute in his 24 minutes alongside Sar. So he must be doing much better, even better than 1.38 when Sar's not playing alongside him. So they have played together a little bit. Probably would separate those two. Do you have a favorite Bull, Tim?
It's probably Vucevic at 8,200. He's probably my favorite Bull. Levine is probably safer. Ayo Dosunmu at 5,500, I think is fine. Yeah, I mean, I think it's Vucevic for me. He's my favorite overall Bull.
Yeah, we've seen Bozelis get more run of late too. He's now 4K. I think he's in the mix if you're making 150, but I wouldn't. His minutes are fragile, I think. They want to develop the rookie a little bit. We're giving him 21 minutes, but I think there's a scenario where he plays like 25 or so in the pool. But and we're giving like basically 4% ownership, essentially no ownership to him right now. Anything else we should stress here as far as Chicago? Like, what about would you make some lineups? I guess you wouldn't. That just like this. How does this go wrong, Tim? Like, how does this go wrong? Like, how does this game just like be something you don't need? What's the scenario?
I could really see Chicago failing because they're a lot more expensive. If it gets spread out, then it's not necessarily something that you need to win a GPP. I think it's going to be really hard for all of Washington to fail. I mean, because they're so cheap, they have such a good matchup. They just don't need as much to pay off those price tags. So I think I find it a lot harder to believe that Washington will fail in this game.
Anything else we should mention here, Chop? I think this is probably the most important game on the slate. That's why I spent a bunch of time on it. Anything else you want to point out before we move on?
See, I mean, I actually named every single player from this game that I have interest in. So I don't think so. I think that, Kuzma getting that ownership, I guess I'm fine with it. But I think the big GPP turning point here is going to be Brogdon or Carrington and making a decision there, and then which one actually delivers on the goods. One of them will. I don't think both of them will. One of them will. Which one do you choose and which one gets there is probably going to be something that decides top 2% in tournaments.
I think Brogdon's my favorite play in this game, which is a terribly uncomfortable thing to say, but we'll see.
He's up there for me. I really like Brogdon in this spot.
It's like we saw Elf do it the other night. It's just the older point guards are at their back. Elf just a completely bonkers game where
that was insane. What did he finish with for assists? 22?
20 or 21. He had like 26 potentials. I think he had like 26 potentials and 21 assists. Almost got there with the triple double as far as rebounds as well. I know he got there in points. Man, shout out to Elf. I used to love playing him, but he was kind of sort of like the old Ben Simmons type where he could pepper that box score. Okay, let's move on. Next game number 2 on the slate is Giannis. Giannis taking on my Miami Heat. 223 is the total. The Heat are 2-point favorites here. We're expecting Hero to start alongside Rozier, Butler, Haywood, Highsmith, and Bam Adebayo. As far as injuries here, nothing really of note. I mean, obviously Middleton is still out. They say Middleton's coming back soon. What do you got, Tim?
Well, no, I was just going to say we got the Prince news, I think. He was questionable earlier, but I think he's in.
Yeah, he's probable. I mean, I don't think anybody's playing him, but sure. He'll be out there, 3-and-D type. Miami is, healthy as they've been in a while. This is a NBA Cup game. I think they're both going to be going for it because their records. Yeah, so Milwaukee's 2-0. Miami's 1-1. Miami has to win. Milwaukee wants to win this game, obviously. And understand that stuff matters too, as far as sometimes players playing a little bit more. And Milwaukee is the one team on this slate that does not play tomorrow. Nobody played yesterday because we do not have a back end of back-to-backs for NBA Cup games. But a bunch of these teams, all these teams, will be playing tomorrow with the exception of Milwaukee. That's why I think we can get a ton of minutes from Giannis. I was looking at his history versus Miami. Not great by his standard. I'm not saying that's like he can't get there, but like it's not like the way he is historically against Indiana or something like that. Tim, Miami versus the Bucks. What are we doing here?
Yeah, so for Milwaukee, I mean, I'm not going to tell people they can't play Giannis, but it's just, I don't know. He's so expensive. It's not a really good matchup. I'm not considering him in single entry or in cash games. I'm not paying $12K on this slate or in this matchup for him. Obviously, he could crush me. He could go for 80. It would not shock me. But I'm not going there tonight. I'm not considering really any of these guys. I think it's okay to play Lopez in GPPs. I wouldn't hate getting to him. Outside of that, I really don't have much to say about this team, Dean.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the Miami fringe stuff. Like, it's just really, really hard to predict their like Love and Highsmith and Pelly Larson. We saw Larson jump up like 35 minutes last game. I don't want to figure that out. I don't think that's necessary to figure out. I think your time is better well suited for doing other things, and you're probably going to be wrong, no matter how much time you put into it, trying to figure out what fringe Miami guy is going to get a few more minutes.
I do think, real quick, I do think Jimmy Butler is an interesting GPP pivot off of Zach LaVine, because they're like the same price.
Yeah,
and LaVine's going to be like 30%, and Butler's going to be like 15 to 20. I think Butler's like a pretty interesting pivot off of LaVine. Outside of that, though, I don't love it.
Shout out to emo Jimmy Butler, producer Steve, throwing it on the screen there. If you watch that starting five on Netflix, I didn't finish it, but I watched a chunk of it, and Butler's on there amongst other people, and they do show him at media day, clowning around and having some fun, and love the emo Jimmy Butler look that they got to show the rest of the season in the media. Chop, this game is pretty uneventful outside of like the stars. Like, you can play Hero, you can play Butler, you can play Giannis. Saw somebody in chat say Lopez. I guess I'm not really in on it, but whatever. I'm not going to besmirch. Is this kind of a punt game? Do we like Miami versus Milwaukee? There is implications. It does matter, for the tournament.
I mean, just the natural mathematics of it. If you have all these players from that first game or a game, the rest of them are going to naturally you're just not going to have much ownership. So this falls into the category of just not getting to a lot of these guys, not because I wouldn't like this game normally, but because that first game takes up so much of my roster space. But if I'm going to just one-off guys, yeah, Hero is fine, I think, and Jimmy Butler call is a good one. I think Bam is a very interesting pivot in GPPs. He's had some success in this matchup. You said Giannis doesn't have as much success against him, which stands to reason because there's not many guys who can physically match up with Giannis. Bam actually can. One of the very few guys that has that same wingspan type of build. But on the flip side, Bam actually matches up pretty well with these guys. He's torched them in the past. If you want to go Lillard or Giannis, I mean, it's a GPP play. Giannis is on fire, but Lopez is actually the one who's on fire and still sitting on 6K. Like we did the show the other day, and I said, well, this price tag's not moving. It was 6K. He's had I think 5 out of 7 really solid, really good GPP winning worthy performances for Lopez at that price tag, if you want to go that route. But it's a tough matchup for him. But these are just one-offs for me. Just one-offs and to play in the lineups with all those Bulls and Wizards.
Just want to put up Bam's minutes of late: 38, 32 blowout, 40, 39, 44. I think that was overtime. 39, 39. I mean, just outrageous minutes of late. It's not exactly Tibbs level. I don't know if you guys saw Tibbs last night. He kept Cat in some of the starters.
Love it. I had Brunson
like
on my
30.
best team.
What is he? He's a madman. He's an absolute. Cat was questionable going into the game. Let's run him into the ground. Why not?
Love it. Run him into the ground.
What a lunatic. Speaking of Jimmy Butler, some would say that Tibbs might have hurt the back end of Butler's career in the injuries because of how he treated him the start. But everybody seems to like him. The players seem to like him. He seems like a good dude. Never once ejected from a game also. Never once ejected, Thibodeau. So I think that's the record for most games coached without ever being ejected. Is that good? I guess that's good. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's good or not. All right, let's move on. Houston, Chops Rockets at Minnesota. As far as the total in this game, not the most appealing, 220. Another game that matters as far as the tournament, the Emirates NBA Cup. The T-Wolves are 3-point favorites. Mike Conley officially questionable. On the other side, Steven Adams is not playing basketball this evening, and Jalen Green is questionable. If he doesn't go, all of a sudden, Amen Thompson is going to look spectacular. It's just an illness, I think. Yeah, an illness for Green. And as far as Minnesota, it's just Conley. I guess Jingle and Joe Ingles still getting his checks. Good for him. He doesn't matter. He is questionable as far as the standings in the Cup. As far as Houston and Minnesota, believe Houston. Yes, Houston's 2-0, Minnesota 1-1. Chop. Is Houston a buzz? Are they excited about the in-season tournament? And is this a huge game in town?
Well, it's not in town, so I'm not sure how they're
Close
handling
enough.
it. And I don't live in I don't live in town, so that's another.
Giannis now questionable. Sorry, Chop.
He doesn't
No
want
way.
that.
He's got to play.
He doesn't want that Bam smoke, man.
He's got to play. Tomorrow, this is a cup game. They don't. Well, whatever. We'll see.
So,
Maybe they're playing games. Maybe it's real.
Maybe they just want to get him a lot of rest for this upcoming, like get Thanksgiving off too, and just get his knee back in order. I don't know, man.
Okay.
Like, I think there's smoke there. Like, I don't think they're just saying that just for the hell of it. So
it's interesting.
Yeah,
he's had probable tags like all season, right? But this is usually nothing comes of it. But okay, worth noting.
Yeah. So far as the Rockets are concerned, I don't know what the buzz is. I'm not in Houston, but I'm sure there's a lot of excitement about the team. They're finally winning some games. This is not an easy matchup going on the road against Minnesota, but I think they're going to be fully healthy. I don't think Jalen Green sits out. I think he's getting better. Like if he was going to sit out, he was at his peak of the illness the last game. Like if he was going to sit out, that would have been the game. I think he's probably kicking it by now. So I think he plays. I'm surprised Fred VanVleet didn't get a suspension for hitting the referee.
Yeah.
So
he did. He did get one.
No, he got a fine.
He got a fine.
Just a fine. Yeah, you're right.
No,
okay,
I was shocked he didn't get suspended.
I thought that was.
He gave him a finger poke, and he called him the B word. I think
it's the finger poke. Like, it's the finger poke that should get.
You can't touch the refs at all.
Can't do that. Yeah. So, but we got him now. Unfortunately, that kind of puts a bit of a cap on Thompson. That would have been nice to get at least Fred out of there, and then Amin Thompson could really crush it. But still coming off the bench, he's definitely has a ceiling on that you can play in this game. Jabari Smith, I think I said it last game. He's a GPP guy, just like a guy I mentioned earlier. Who was it? Kobe White. It's hit or miss. So in GPPs, you love that. Jabari, look at that game log, man. Like he misses when he misses, he tanks your team, but it's okay. To GPP team, you probably weren't winning anyway. But when he hits, he's on the GPP winning lineup when he hits. He crushes his salary when he does it, and he's cheap again tonight. So, again, I'm worried about Şengün in this matchup. This is not the easiest thing with that kind of center you're playing against. When your moves are strictly basically in the post like that, that's tough, man. So I think I'm going to the perimeter with the Rockets game here. Somewhere out on the perimeter. Hope Jabari gets hot with his three-point shots. Hope Jalen or Jalen is sinking his three-point shots. On the flip side, I think you could play Gobert in tournaments. Just because of the price tag, the optimals are going to give you some Mike Conley. I'm not sure that there's much there in terms of a ceiling, so I don't know if that's the route I'm going to take, but you'll see him pop up in some optimals. But I think probably my favorite player from Minnesota is Gobert. I think it's a pretty decent matchup for him here to grab some rebounds and get some block shots. So otherwise, again, the ownership's going to the first game, so it's just not going to be a heavily owned game for me.
We've seen Alexander Walker and DiVincenzo start in the absence of Connolly. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but incremental bumps if we happen to see Connolly out. Our Iftan has Freddie VanVleet and Amen looking really, really strong if we happen to lose Green. I'm with you, Chop, though. I expect Green to play, but just be ready for it. Goes without saying, by the way, if Giannis doesn't play, Portis would look really, really good. Lillard would get a bump as well. Portis, I think, is 5-5 on DK. Did not see his FanDuel score. What do we have here, Tim? Thoughts as far as Houston, Minnesota? Are we enthused about this one or not so much?
Yeah, I mean, the Green news is huge. I agree with you guys, though. I think he does play. I really like the call by Chop with Jabari Smith. He is so boomer bust. And he's so cheap. He can easily 8x that price tag. This is a good matchup for him. So I really do like Jabari Smith a ton. He's probably my favorite overall Rocket. I'm on Thompson at 5K. I think even if Green plays, you can get to Thompson. I think he's got a ceiling in this matchup. If Green sits, I think FEV is the play at 7-1. I know he's not been great lately, but he gets a really nice usage bump with no Green. So if Green does happen to sit, I would try to get to as much FEV as possible. On the other side of this game, I know Conley is popping in a lot of optimals. I know that he is maybe in cash game consideration. I don't really like him that much. I guess his ownership has come down overall on the day, but like at 15%, I don't know. I think that's still a little bit too high for me. I don't love Conley. I'm assuming DiVincenzo would start for him like he has been,
or not. One of those two.
Or who?
Alexander Walker, possibly.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, but like even DiVincenzo, if he starts for him, like I don't love him. He's not the same guy was in New York because he doesn't play those huge minutes anymore. So, I don't really like DiVincenzo even if Conley sits. I do like Chops calling Rudy Gobert. He is probably my favorite Timberwolves play.
Shout out to Mike in chat who says Dean is an old Jack Black, and I'm like, Jack Black, Jack Black's 55, and I'm an old Jack Black. And the funny thing is, if you remember Jack Black, he did many things, obviously, but he was, of course, in School of Rock, and he played a teacher by the name of Mr. Schneebly. And I remember that distinctly because when I was teaching, my last name kind of, sort of, somewhat sounds like Schneebly. Kirkwood probably thinks it is, but they remember one class called me Mr. Schneebly because of that, because my last name is somewhat similar. Shabelson, Schneebly. I mean, they thought it was close enough. Okay, let's move on. We got 2 more games. Crunch time coming in about 15 minutes or so.
Kids.
Yeah, man, it was in good fun. They weren't being malicious. Middle school was the worst. Middle school was I'm an old Jack Black, and this is Jack Black. He pulls it off for the record. I'd love to be able to grow such a beard. But all right. The Spurs and the Jazz, 224 is the total. Was he in Kangaroo Jack? I thought that was Jerry O'Connell. I didn't see Kangaroo Jack. I didn't think he was in that, though. I think you're thinking of Jumanji, maybe? Richard in chat. 224.5 is the total. Utah at home versus the Spurs. No Jordan Clarkson for Utah. No Vassal as well for San Antonio. I guess he's coming back in a couple days. Big body Keldon Johnson, his entire body is probable. His issue was his hamstring. As far, obviously Jeremy Sohan, no basketball for him. Filipowski's out as well with his leg. Colin Sexton, he's got that finger, but he's good to go. He's officially available. Chop, I'll throw this one to you. San Antonio. Maybe there's some buzz in San Antonio about the Spurs and the Jazz. Wemby, another big spend. We know that Utah is the most blocked team in the league. We know that Utah is the most stolen team in the league. They're bottom 2 in both those categories. One they're the worst, one they're second worst. But it's a great stock matchup, the Jazz. Chop, what are we doing with the Spurs and Utah?
Yeah, Dean. There's a lot of buzz. Wemby. The city loves Wemby. They love them some Wemby. How do they get lucky and get that one, man? Get that number 1 draft pick.
Crazy, you gotta grease the right palm.
Yeah, I guess so, man. But yeah, so outside of the Chicago-Washington game, I'll have more players from this game than any of the other 3 games that are left over. This is definitely the second highest owned game for me in terms of just general players in it. There's no doubt about it. Wemby, it's going to be tough. The spend up, especially with Giannis questionable now, he's probably the best spend up right now, in my opinion. The ceiling is obviously massive. It's through the roof. It's a great matchup for him. So he's the premier spend up now. So you got to, and there's plenty of value on the slate. The other Spurs, I think Castle is in the mix. If you want to sprinkle in some Chris Paul or some Keldon Johnson, by all means, go for it. But Wemby is definitely the guy for me. It's the Utah side that's very intriguing. Your spin-ups, Markkanen and Collins are fine. Markkanen is not going to be affected by Wemby, I don't believe. He's just going to stand out on the three-point line and shoot three-pointers anyway, so he's fine. It's the other guys that the Colin Sexton, Keontae George, that combination in the backcourt. One of those guys should really do pretty well tonight. Don't ask me which one's going to have the monster game, but I think one of them has a monster game. Walker Kessler is going to gather some ownership, and rightfully so. He's been I think he came back from injury and played a lot of minutes last game. And
35.
35 minutes, which for him, typically, I would say, man, all in, sign me up. He's a incredible per minute guy. But I'm not sure what this matchup is going to look like. What are they going to do? Like, who's going to be on him, and where's Wemby going to go to? Like, that's a tough deal if his priority is Wembanyama tonight. So
he's been bad 2 times this year versus the Spurs. This is the 3rd time they're meeting.
So yeah, so it fits that theory then that maybe it's not a great matchup for Kessler. But the backcourt, Sexton and George, love them. Like outside of that Chicago-Washington game, I'll have those guys in a lot of lineup, the most of anybody else. So, and then Wemby is the priority spin up.
Tim?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the second best game on the entire slate. I prefer Wemby over AD straight up. I know projections disagree with that, but I do like AD. I do like Wemby more than AD. I love Stephon Castle at 5,200. I think he's a really, really strong value play. If you're in the price range for Chris Paul, I think it's a decent spot for him as well. Harrison Barnes is playing like unbelievably well. I mean, it's crazy. But at 4,500, small forward, power forward, I don't hate it in this spot, so I don't mind going back. Same thing with Champagny. So like all these guys, all these like cheap mid-range Spurs are really good pivots, I think, off of some of the Wizards chalk if you want to get different. So yeah, I mean, I definitely like a Wemby as my top spend up option on the slate. If I do play a player over 10K, it will be Wemby. So I'm not sure if I'm going to, but if I do, it'll be Wemby. And then Utah, not really as high on Utah as I thought I would be. I completely get it if you want to play guys like Lauri Markkanen or John Collins, but I think they're out for me tonight. Definitely don't mind Walker Kessler if he's going to be playing 30 plus minutes. I think that's fine. I'm not really sure what to do with this whole guard situation. Yeah, if I'm playing like MME, I'm definitely getting to some. But I think you can like match the field like around the 14 and like 12% mark for Sexton and George. But I'm not really high on either one of those guys. So I think for Utah, it would just be Walker Kessler for me.
We've seen George get a ton of minutes in the absence of Clarkson, games where Clarkson has not played, but he also might be kind of terrible. He might be kind of terrible.
Yeah.
Just, I'm not saying you can't play him.
He's one of those real life terrible players, but pretty good in fantasy.
Yeah. I mean, he's young and he still might be able to figure it out. He still might be able to get there. But you mentioned Harry Barnes. We talked about Giannis. Yeah, the players of the week, Eastern Conference, Giannis Antetokounmpo, player of the week, Western Conference, Harry Barnes.
That's right.
What?
Pretty crazy.
Giannis makes sense. That checks out. Barnes, good for him. All right. We got one more game. Yeah, we have an egregiously low number of likes, especially when you consider we have 147 votes in the poll. Best snack at the movies, popcorn is the chalk. No surprise there. 51%, hot dogs, 26%, 12%, soft pretzels, and tenders. I like soft because you can't just say pretzel. Tender at 11%. Yeah, so we have twice as many votes in the poll. Hit that like button if you don't mind. Yeah, subscribe and hit the buttons, do all the things, turn on notifications. Last game, the Island game, 10 o'clock on the East Coast. Lakers, Suns. We're getting KD back. Everybody is healthy here. Even the Lakers got back their backup 5 and Jackson Hayes. I don't think there's anybody that's injured here, right? Unless I'm missing something. Let's just double check. I don't want to misspeak. Yeah, Bradley Beal is good to go, of course. Durant is good to go. As far as the Lakers, I mean, nothing new as far as Vanderbilt and Wood. We know they're out. They've been out forever. There are some stars here. Tim, but didn't sound like you have your favorite star. But again, I keep repeating, this is one of the big games for the in-season tournament. The Lakers, defending champs. They want to get there in Vegas once again. They're 2-0. Phoenix absolutely needs this game. They're 1-1, and their differential is not great either. So they have any chance to move on. Of course, you can get a wild card as well. You don't necessarily have to win the group, but there are in-season tournament implications. Lakers and Phoenix, I can see minutes getting pushed up a little bit. Tim, Lakers and Suns, is this 234.5, high and tight? Suns are 3-point favorites, but the prices are all kind of priced accordingly. Didn't sound like you're terribly enthused. Well, your thoughts as far as the Suns and the Lakers?
Well, I mean, I do like Anthony Davis. I just like Wemby better. Anthony Davis is showing up a ton in Sims. So if you want to follow the Sims, which you probably should do in large field GPPs, Anthony Davis is a real standout play. I'm just making my own decision by playing Wemby, but Davis rates out better. He's better projected. He rates better in Sims. So I have no issue if people want to play AD. LeBron James or in FanDuel is simming really well, so no issue playing LeBron. I think
is that a real quote from Shaq that's been thrown up on the screen? I'm sorry. Did Shaq recently say this about Anthony Davis? I don't want to be. Is that an old quote?
I think it was from last year.
Oh, okay. I'm like, because Davis has been good this year. I know he had a bad game recently, but okay. I didn't mean to halt the show.
I mean, I know that he was giving him a bunch of crap last year. Like they had but yeah.
And Barkley called him street clothes for always missing games.
Right, exactly. So, and then on the Phoenix side, I mean, they're all healthy, and when they all play together, the big three, Durant, Beal, and Booker, they're not great for fantasy. But I still think that Durant at 8,300 is a reasonable play just because of his price tag. I think he can still get to like 50 fantasy points. So I think Durant's okay, but I do not have a lot of interest in the Suns.
I would just note Durant has not played an NBA game in 18 days. I don't think that's really going to hurt his projection. We're giving like 34 minutes. He was playing 37, 37, 39, 38, which, by the way, that's probably why he got hurt. You could argue that why he kind of broke down. I don't think we're giving him 37, 38. I think Booker's the guy that could play like 39 or 40 because they want to win this game more so than others. Chop, jump in here.
Okay, I'll do that, Dean. So I kind of I agree with a lot of what Tim said. So I prefer Wembanyama over Anthony Davis because the ceiling is higher on Wemby. I just don't think there's any doubt about that. Like if they both have their ceiling game, Wemby is the better player. But Davis is going to get to his median a lot more often than Wembanyama. So if you're in, that is what it is. So I'm not saying I don't like Davis. I just like Wemby more, like Tim said. But Davis is fine too, and I'll talk about that in a minute. That's a possible game stack here. I'm just not into I'm not into LeBron. Like at a certain point, JJ Redick really needs to pull like the reins in here and say, man, this guy's too old to be running out here 38 minutes every single game out of an 82-game schedule. So I think they're going to reel him in a little bit. I just don't want to play LeBron in that spot. Russell and Reeves don't really get there for me. Nurkic is in trouble in this matchup, I think. The big three is back for Phoenix. So although I don't want to necessarily go out of my way to play any of them, I do think there's still something to be said for Booker. I don't think Booker is going to necessarily struggle to find his shots just because Durant is back now. I think it's actually might benefit him, the efficiency of it a little bit. So that's fine. So if you want to stack like the cheaper options in Chicago, Washington, and then the Anthony Davis, Devin Booker, run it back in this game.
You can do that.
I think that's awesome. That's the kind of stuff that could win. There's not really another. You go to the Spurs game, that doesn't have star versus star. It has Wemby on his own. I don't know. I wouldn't call Markkanen a star. Houston, Minnesota, I'm not feeling the Şengün. Who?
Edwards is supposed to be a star.
Şengün, Edwards, but I'm not really feeling that in that matchup. But this is two bona fide stars that you can run back, or you can do Beal and Davis or whatever. Pick two stars from this game, go head to head, and then run it back with all that and run it with that cheap value from that Chicago-Washington game. That's kind of stuff that wins GPPs.
But I agree with your assessment on LeBron and Redick has to push back. I just don't think it is tonight. Maybe one of their guys sits tomorrow in San Antonio. I think they want to win this game. I think they want to defend their cup championship. Like, why would you not want to? And like, not even just for those players and their egos and all that kind of stuff, but for the 15th man on the bench. For Bronny, 500K. Everybody gets 500K, right?
Bronny not even making the road trips in the G League. That's just terrible.
I don't know.
By the way, Dean,
what do you want from the guy?
Can we say is it too early to say that for sure 100% Minnesota did not win the cat trade? I mean, I'm not saying New York won it because I don't know how good they are, but boy, though Julius Randle and DiVincenzo are just not only are they not working out in Minnesota, they might be I don't want to use the word cancer. Sorry about it. They might be like a negative in the locker room. You know what I mean? It does not look good over there. That
You're
trade's
already
looking
trying
terrible.
to get rid of DiVincenzo.
Crazy.
I'm sure New York is happy with Cat, I would imagine.
I think New York will trade them a third-round pick for DiVincenzo back.
Well, they don't exist third-round picks, so I'm sure they would.
All right, second-round pick, or maybe just campaign straight up.
We should have crunch time coming here momentarily. Roth and Neil and Taylor. 33 minutes until 7 o'clock is locked tonight. Just one game at lock. It's Washington and Chicago, the most important game. Chop, if you got to get out of here, by all means. We don't want to cut it too close. I know you got
a few minutes. You
want to give the people your break the slate? I'm assuming you're front loading or maybe you have like 1 or 2 players late. What are you doing as far as your situation? You're turning on your phone. You're going to be in the movies.
Most of my lineup is going to be in the early window anyway, so I'm not gonna have to worry about it. I turn it off and that's that. So most of this stuff is going to be early anyway. But just looking up and down the board, who would I pick the? But I guess that's too much ownership on that guy. I don't want to go there, Dean. I don't know. Let's go with. That's a tough one. How about Tim? Let's get Tim in there. Let me sort through this a little bit.
So
Tim?
I know that he's gonna be popular, but I really love Brogdon tonight. He's definitely gonna be somebody that I'm playing. I think everyone should be on him in any format. See, my biggest decision is am I gonna play a 10K guy or not? That's my hardest decision right now.
Is that like a 2v2 or a 3v3?
It's a 2v2 basically, and Wemby's only projecting for 12%. So I'm gonna say Wemby is my lower owned GPP smash play.
I was not on the survey today, so I did not get to write a bold call. But if I was, my bold call would have been Wembanyama double-digit stocks tonight. So I like Wemby as well. I don't know the exact breakdown: 7-3, 6-4, 8-2. We got double-digit stocks for Wemby. With that, let's go ahead and bring in crunch time right now.
No, just try that one more time for me.
Crunch time? Did we lose Kevin Roth? We may have lost Kevin Roth.
I think we did.
Steve?
Dean, I didn't get to give my pick, man.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Well, you passed. You can't pass.
No, I just need a little more time because I needed to get off of the chalky play I had highlighted. So I'm going to go to a slightly less chalkier guy. Even if he has slightly limited minutes tonight, I still think he triple doubles. I think it's Josh Giddey. I think in this pace, the rebounds and the assists will be there. Fall into some defensive stats. I like Josh Giddey quite a bit.
Neil, Taylor, do we think Giannis plays? What's up with this midday downgrade to questionable? Really, really important game for NBA Cup stuff. We've had him probable all season long, basically. They don't play tomorrow. They don't like Miami. Just what do we
did you see that it was breaking news to Doc Rivers when he was at the podium? Like he didn't know that Giannis was going to be questionable, and then just learned while he was at the podium.
He's the doctor.
He's a doctor. He should know. My number 2 doctor.
Very par for the course with Doc Rivers. Giannis is out, by the way.
Giannis is out.
All right.
Oh my God, Miami flu? Is that what? Were they in South Beach last night? That's interesting. Okay, so Bobby Portis season.
Bobby Portis.
Don't tell anybody, guys. But Bobby Portis, just keep this between us. Probably a pretty good play, and maybe some Dame. I don't know. But yeah, projections will be updated. I guess it's good we got it now, but could have waited and see how that would have played out with all the now some ownership's going to get shuffled away at least a little bit, I think, from Washington and Chicago. Chop, we're going to step aside and get out of here. Steve, are you going to be holding this down? You can play in the role of Roth in the meantime.
I think so.
Okay, I trust you can do it. Chop's going to see his movie. He's going to see Gladiator 2. Tim's going to go hit the grill or something. Tim, what do we do? We do anything? Anything interesting?
Definitely having dinner. That's correct. Yeah, no grill.
We got to make some lineups if nothing else. All right. Steve, take it away. Hopefully we get Roth coming in momentarily, but here comes crunch time right now.
What's up, guys? It's Kevin Roth here with two of the sharpest minds in the business. We got a nice little 5-game slate with crazy breaking news happening. About 29 minutes to lock, so I think we could just jump into it right now so we can save some time for QQs. Let's see, Neil, you want to kick it off?
Sure, I'll kick it off with point guard. And man, it's obviously going to change a lot with Giannis being out. That changes the whole complexion of the slate, adds a little bit more value. I don't know if it's going to add that much more value, but it's going to make Portis more appealing, Brola more appealing, Lillard more appealing. So, players across Milwaukee will look a little bit more appealing. Also, Miami probably a little bit more appealing without Giannis there. So, going to change it a little bit. But as of my latest run, which still had Giannis in, my highest exposed point guard, Keontae George, I'm getting to 35% there. Just a really, really strong value at 5,500. Ayo Dosunmu, Colin Sexton, Chris Paul, Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Austin Reeves. I forced in a little bit of Trey Jones, and of course, I always have to force in a bit of Anthony Edwards. So boosted projections a bit on both of those guys. Devin Booker, Malcolm Brogdon, nobody else in double digits.
All right, Taylor.
Yeah, so the Bulls Wizards game is going to be like where everyone goes for the most part with that super high total. With good reason, 2 bad defenses, 2 fast-paced teams. So good spot for Ayo Dosunmu, good spot for Josh Giddey. Probably don't want to play them together. I'm not sure they have like super high ceilings together. So I personally might divide them up a little bit. But individually, they're both strong plays. I don't love that Giddey's getting more expensive, but it is a good spot for him. Brogdon for the Wizards looks fine. I'm a little concerned about his minutes ceiling, but with no Poole, there is usage to go around for them. Kind of like the San Antonio-Utah game. Both sides of it have point guard options. Stephon Castle still looks good. Chris Paul, obviously, for San Antonio. I like the Keontae George call quite a bit. And Colin Sexton looks fine. I think you can get to Trey Jones a little bit as like a tournament punt on DK, but not the most comfortable play in the world.
All right, if you could take me over to shooting guard.
Yeah, so I'm looking at DK right now. The Wizards have 2 guys, Koulibaly and Keyshawn George, both relatively affordable. Koulibaly on the high end has a decent ceiling in this spot. George is cheap and should start with Poole out. Good play no matter what. I'm fine playing them both together. A few guys I mentioned at point guard, George, Sexton, and Castle. You can all play at shooting guard. The Chicago guys, Dosunmu, Zach LaVine, are going to be great in this spot. Maybe Gary Trent looks a little bit better without Giannis, but never feel super excited about Gary Trent. And I guess I was looking at FanDuel, actually. My bad. Either way, Dosunmu again. Amen Thompson on FanDuel, shooting guard. I think he's pretty interesting in this spot against Minnesota. Could see a few more minutes. Even if Jalen Green is in, which we don't know yet, I think he's a solid tournament play. And then Anthony Edwards, always worth a shout, even in a bad spot.
All right, I am trying to see our RG projections have not taken Giannis out yet on my end, but I keep checking that. I will update it on screen as soon as I can. And Neil, let's get you to talk shooting guard quick.
Yep. So I just reran a crunch or a set of lineups, and not actually Fantasy Cruncher. I ran a new set of lineups with the news that Giannis is out to see who I would get to. And by the way, I'm doing DraftKings first also. That's kind of my default. I forget that on this show. Sometimes we do a bit more focus on. You guys do a good job of focusing on FanDuel, but I'm starting with DraftKings here. Ayo Dosunmu, I'm getting to the most of. Corey Kispert, Colin Sexton, Zach LaVine, Amen Thompson, Kobe White, Austin Reeves, again, Ant, Jalen Green. Again, I forced a little bit more Jalen Green than I was getting just because I'm hopeful that he can find his stroke and suddenly put up a lot of points. Gary Trent, Malcolm Brogdon, and nobody else in double digits.
All right. Now, could you take me to small forward?
Yeah, at small forward, Keyshawn George, one of the best projected value plays on the slate. Corey Kispert, Zach LaVine, Amen Thompson, Bilal Coulibaly, Gary Trent, Lauri Markkanen. I guess that's it as far as double digits goes.
All right, that's nice and quick. Taylor, your thoughts?
Yeah, let me get over there.
I switched over to DK since both of you guys were on that first. Sorry, Taylor.
Okay.
Trying to do this all
fine.
at once, it's a little tough, but I switched over to DK first for you guys. We can double back to FanDuel once we run through DK.
No prob. Just kind of getting over there now. So George, going to be an awesome play over here too. Koulibaly. I mentioned Amen Thompson. 5K flight on DK looks like a really good play to me. Kispert for Washington is fine. Never a high ceiling, but they have usage to go around and minutes to go around with Poole out. And it's the best game of the night, so no qualms with that. Markkanen looks decent. I like Jimmy Butler now with Giannis out, especially. Going to look a little bit better. Not projecting for a lot of ownership either, so I think he's a pretty strong play with Levine presumably being the chalk, kind of in that range. Butler looks like a strong pivot, even if he projects poorly by comparison.
All right, and just give it one more refresh. See, no, it looks like he's still in there on my end. But could you take me to power forward, Taylor?
Yeah. So Portis is going to be the guy. He's 5'5" on DK, and he is 6'1" on FanDuel. So regardless, you're going to play him on the slate. Should start without Giannis. Tons of usage available for him. Just too cheap. Very obvious play. Going to maybe be the chalkiest play on the slate now. This presumably is going to lower some of the ownership on Alex Sarr, which is probably good because he was coming in as heavy chalk for Washington. Played a few more minutes lately. Good matchup against Chicago. Not the most comfortable chalk. I think Portis is just going to soak that up. So Sarr is still playable, especially now that he's not as popular. Kuz looks good in the same game. 6'3" on DK is the lowest price we've had on him in quite some time. That game is just something you want to target heavily. Otherwise, still Butler looks strong. LeBron and Randall and Keys tonight. Anyone play him? There's a chance he's limited, but on a short slate, I still think KD can always make a player pool.
Nice. All right, Neil, run down power forward for us, please.
Yeah, Bobby Portis just looks like he's currently in all of my lineups in my latest run. Just way too good. Point per, I didn't realize he's 5,500, so I guess he does qualify as a value on DraftKings. Looks awesome. Kaishan George, number 2. I'm still getting to a lot of Alex Sarr. Kuzma, yeah, looks awesome. Kuzma was going to be, I mean, he's going to be pretty chalky anyway, but I still like him quite a bit at 30%-ish ownership. LeBron, I like the Jimmy Butler shout out with Giannis out. I gave him a little bit of a boost, so I am now getting to double digits of Jimmy Butler, Lauri Markkanen, Kevin Durant, and nobody else in double digits.
All right, and that just leaves center over here on DK. So let's just knock that one out.
Yep. So Bobby Portis again, number 1, Alex Sarr, number 2, Victor Wembanyama, my number 3, Jonas Valanciunas, Vooch, LeBron, Walker Kessler, Kevin Durant, and nobody else in double digits currently. I might want to give just a little bit of a boost to Brook Lopez, because I think he could also benefit, play some big minutes without Giannis there.
Yeah, that's smart. I like that. Taylor?
Yeah, Lopez wasn't really on my radar, but now he will be. The minutes have been there for him either way. So he looks good. I like the Valanciunas call as a leverage play away from Sarr. I don't think Valanciunas is going to be unowned, but relative to what Sarr was coming in at, he's pretty contrarian. Not sure how that'll be now with Sarr presumably less popular, but still like it a good bit in this spot. Vooch on the other side looks excellent in this game. Like every piece in the game is firmly in play. Of course, I think Portis you can play here. AD going to be unowned, I think, on this slate. LeBron, maybe a similar story now. Love the Wemby call. He's my favorite high-end guy of them all. And Kessler, I think, is a good play. Played like 35 minutes in his first game back. Shouldn't be limited tonight. Good spot against San Antonio. I think that game stack is something you can consider with people stacking the early game a little more often.
Gotcha. All right, let's get these ad reads knocked out real quick before we switch over to FanDuel. If you joined late, we actually did DK first today. Normally we do FanDuel first, but we're having a little crazy day. So DFS is all about value. This is the busiest time in the sports calendar, which means it's a perfect time to sign up for RG Combo. For a limited time, get your first month of combo access for just $79.99. That's $5 more than NBA Premium by itself. So don't pass up on this great value. And if you want access to some of the most advanced NBA data in the market, sign up for Shot Quality. The projections are compatible with our Lineup HQ tool. You can get 1 month access for $40 or yearly for $200. And if you just want to give it a test run for a few days, you can get a 3-day pass for $9.99. All right, let me go over to FanDuel. The projections have updated according to Tim. So everything should be good on screen. 1 second. All right. And let's start off with Taylor on this one, if you can. I know we kind of touched on both FanDuel and DraftKings earlier for the guard positions, but let's just do it again for the people.
For the people. Dame's going to be awesome now. All the usage that Giannis had, a lot of it's going to go to Dame in this game. The spot against Miami is obviously suboptimal, especially without Giannis, but hopefully they can keep it close enough. Dame's a little cheap on FanDuel at 8.8 anyway, so pretty easy play now. Otherwise, you're looking kind of on the cheap side. There's not a lot to pay for at point guard on this slate. Brogdon and Dosunmu in the mid-range look good. Paul and Giddey, if you want to spend a little bit more. Castle and Sexton, like there's quite a bit in the mid-range that looks pretty similar to each other. Brogdon might be the chalkiest of that group. I think that's somewhat fragile given his minutes, so don't mind pivoting to Io or Paul or Giddey or Sexton or Castle. And then Van Vliet, 7,600 is kind of a lot, but if Green is out, his usage is going to go up. I think he's a decent play either way. That probably does it. I guess you can play Amen, but on FanDuel, he's a bit more expensive. All
right, Neil.
Yeah, first of all, I'm enjoying these comments. Never considered signing up for a RotoGrinders Premium until I heard producer Steve read a promo. Yeah, great promo read there, Steve. Like you've done it every day, just sliding right into the Roth roll. All right, point guard. I'm getting to a lot of Io, Brogdon, Lillard, Sexton, Castle, Keontae George, Josh Giddey, Chris Paul, Tyler Herro, and nobody else in real numbers. Maybe I'd try to get to a bit more Dante DiVincenzo if Mike Conley ends up being out, but as of right now, not getting too much there.
All right, and let's go to shooting guard.
Yep, shooting guard. Again, it's Io, Brogdon. Keyshawn George looks good on FanDuel. Also, Colin Sexton, Stephon Castle, Zach LaVine, Keontae George, Josh Giddey, Bilal Coulibaly, Devin Booker, Austin Reeves, Gary Trent, Herro, and Ant are the only players I'm getting double digits currently.
Got a lot of names right there for only a 5-game slate. So
true. Kind of
going on.
It's just it seems like it's just a play whoever you want kind of day with all the news and pricing, I guess. Let's see. Taylor, your thoughts? Shooting guard?
Pretty much the same. I think Trent is a lot more appealing now without Giannis at 4-2. Completely reliant on his shots going in, which is never a sure thing, especially against the Heat, but he's cheap enough to where I think it's okay. Jalen Green is in. Thank you for that. I think he's tournament only, kind of as usual. His shooting's been horrible lately. Matchup against Minnesota, not an easy one necessarily, but he always has a ceiling. I think you can always keep him in a player pool as well for a tournament. Otherwise, same guys. George looks good. Coulibaly, 6,100 on FanDuel. LaVine is maybe the top overall guy here, going to be owned accordingly. That'll limit the ownership on Booker and Edwards naturally. Obviously, LaVine is in the best spot, but you never know what can happen. And pivoting to those guys, if you're otherwise playing a pretty chalky build, makes sense to me.
All right. Let's shoot over to small forward over on FanDuel.
Taurean Prince, kind of in the same vein as Gary Trent, just an uncomfortable value, but the minute should be there. Maybe a little bit of usage sprinkles his way. 4-4. I think that's fine. Kuzma, 6,800 looks good over here as well. Kispert, only 4,200. Like tons of wizards, tons of cheap wizards everywhere tonight. I think, LaVine you can play here, of course. Booker and Edwards on the high end, just like we talked about at shooting guard. You can play LeBron under 10K on FanDuel. I think that looks pretty interesting, even against Phoenix. Nice. That probably does it for the main stuff. Butler, of course, I mentioned on DK. Great play on FanDuel as well.
Nice. Neil, let's hear what you got at small forward.
Kuzma, Kispert, Levine, LeBron, Austin Reeves, Devin Booker, Jimmy Butler, Torian Prince, and Ant, and then nobody else in double digits currently. Just trying to look real quick if there's anybody else I want to force up. And I don't think I see anybody else that I want in double digits. So I think that's going to do it for me.
All right. Then you want to bring us over to power forward, please?
Yep. Again, getting to 1 million shares. I'm getting all the Bobby Portis at 6,100 on FanDuel. Kyle Kuzma at 6,800 looks awesome on FanDuel also. Wembanyama, LeBron, Alex Sarr still getting to a good amount there. Jimmy Butler, John Collins, Julius Randle, and nobody else currently in double digits for me.
Nice. I noticed Neil mentioned pretty much, Taylor, that Portis is going to be like almost a lock button for him. Do you have the same kind of thoughts? And then give me the rest on power forward.
Yeah, I don't see the need to get away from it. Just a super good per minute guy. He almost always seems to smash whenever this happens. So not that that means anything for the future, but feel pretty good about it. He's underpriced. He should be 7,500 and he's not. So kind of is what it is. A very easy play. I think Wemby at the high end, still my favorite guy. I love that he's power forward eligible on FanDuel. Sarr, of course, another good value in the 6K range on FanDuel. Otherwise, LeBron as a pay up, Randall as kind of a mid-range thing looks okay. I never mind Naz Reid, especially if these other power forwards in that range are going to go significantly higher owned, which they will. Reid has a ceiling always. And then AD, power forward eligibility on FanDuel is useful as well.
Cool. And let's just knock it out and finish up at center.
Yeah, so Portis, you can play at center. I don't think you want to necessarily. You can play Lopez here. Kessler is still the guy I'm getting the most of on FanDuel. 6K flat. Love Vooch, love Wemby. Gobert down to 6'9". I think that looks pretty good against Şengün. Should be some shot blocking opportunities for him. Obviously on FanDuel, that pays dividends with the scoring system. And then Joe Val, kind of the same thing on DK. I like him as a pivot from Sarr on FanDuel.
All right, Neil, let's get the rundown of your players.
Yeah, there are so many centers that look really good. Like I said, getting to a lot of Portis. The first four are all power forward eligible. Also, those being Portis, Wembanyama, Sarr, and John Collins. Then you get to Kessler. I forced in a little bit of Şengün. Wasn't getting to much, but I think that there's volatility in the minutes there and the projection. He's just such a great point per dollar play that at 8,600 do want to get to some Şengün. Vooch, man, a great matchup with Washington. I forced a little bit of Jusuf Nurkic just because I think that there is like major volatility in his minutes, and he's such a great point per dollar producer that I think I want to get to at least a bit at like zero ownership of Nurkic. And then outside Brook Lopez, again, forcing just a little bit there. And that's about it.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, guys. Let me check the Discord real quick. I'll see if we can get the questions coming in. Everyone, be sure to send Roth a message and let him know to take care of his computer. I am filling in because apparently his computer caught fire.
I hope that actually happened, but as long as he's safe about it.
He's fine. He's safe. He was in the waiting room with everyone, but yeah, his computer was struggling. So I was the last minute fill-in. All right. I got Discord opened, and the first question is DK Cash. I don't know who does cash and who does tournaments for you guys.
I don't play any cash, but I can run the opto in a minute. Just have to pull it up.
All right. So the first question is DK Cash. Last two spots: Joval and Vooch, or Giddey and Kuz.
Joval and Vooch. All right, let me run this real quick. Taylor, do you have an answer? I can just run it, but I'm not sure if I want either.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Joval and Cash. That might be a little bit thin, so maybe I'd go with the other one off the top of my head.
Yeah.
We got Achilles. Another DK Cash question is Wemby or Vooch balance build on DK. So I guess they're looking to use either one.
Like Wemby in a non-balance build, or go balance with Vooch, maybe?
That sounds right. That sounds like what they probably mean.
Yeah. I think I like the Wemby thing. There's a lot of mid-range value, and I think the Vooch build might be the more popular route, so I would go Wemby.
All right. Next question is DKGPP. He says, I already have White and Vooch. So last piece, Giddey, Reeves, or Jalen Green?
Probably Jalen Green for me. If it is, just for a kind of a contrarian piece, I like Jalen Green at pretty low ownership. I don't know that's kind of depends obviously on the rest of your lineup, but I like Green as a just contrarian play.
All right, thank you. So I'll pass this one to Taylor. It's FanDuel GPP. Would you pair AD and Wemby together or just choose one and use money elsewhere?
I think there's enough cheap stuff to where I'd probably just play one of them. The mid-range is pretty stacked, so I would lean Wemby if you're paying up for one of them.
All right. J Sams, this one I guess will be for Neil. FanDuel single entry. Which Wizards wouldn't you want to play together due to negative correlation?
All right, let me see FanDuel single entry. Give me 1 second. Let me pull up Court IQ.
Sure.
And you said on FanDuel?
Yes.
All right, give me 1 second.
You can see more questions coming in. I'll try and pass one to Taylor while you pull that.
Yeah.
Nothing yet. Let me go to YouTube for a second. It doesn't say cash or GPP, Taylor, but SAR or Kuz on FanDuel.
Kuz just for me. It's different price tiers, but Kuz.
All right, Fast and the Furious out there.
I know.
I would, I guess I would say I'd be disinclined to play Sar and Valanciunas together. Honestly, I guess there's negative correlation with Kuzma and Kaishan George, it looks like, but not enough that I would not play them together. I don't think that would be a big enough concern for me to not want to play them together. It's kind of tough because I think there are so many great values on the Wizards that I don't really see many that I would be super hesitant to play together. But I think Sar and JVal would probably be the one for me. I'm curious if Taylor has a different answer there for Wizards you would not want to play together.
That was the one that I would have said too, just because obviously the starter and the backup generally don't play together. The other guys are just cheap, so I think that's kind of the tiebreaker. I don't really have a rule against it. I don't have more than 4 in the lineup now that we have this Milwaukee value. So that's probably where I'd cap it. I think too many Wizards, not necessarily too many would be 4, but personally I'm limiting it at 3. But Joe Valen Sar is the only rule I have.
Awesome. Thank you guys. DKGPP, he says favorite 3 value plays at util 5,500 or less, but just give me your favorite util 5,500 or less at DKGPP.
All right, 1 second.
Portis, C 5.5.
Yep. This is DraftKings. Yeah, Portis is exactly 5.5. Kaishan George, I'm getting to a lot of, and then probably Sar.
Cool.
I like Keontae too in a tournament in that range, 5.5 exactly.
Yeah, good call.
All right, this one's from Blink-182. Thoughts on Connect in a DK large field tourney? I have 3,400 left for guard on DK in the same tournament, leaning towards Trey Jones. Any better suggestions?
34.
How much was that? 3-4?
34, yeah, 3,400. And he has so I think he's asking Connect.
I wouldn't play Connect tonight. Rui's back. I think they're healthy.
Okay.
Isaiah Collier might be your 3-4 guy to just fire a dart with.
Collier, okay.
I'd probably go Trey Jones. I like that, but yeah, I think those two are the two that look the best there.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. All right, so then we got Brogdon or Kaishan George for FanDuel GPP.
George for me.
Oops, I'm on the wrong. Sorry. Yeah, I think. I'm gonna have a lot of both, but I think George probably makes sense.
George, okay. DK GPP, last piece, Barnes or Smith? I have no idea what Smith.
Jabari, I assume.
I'll reply.
I would go Jabari also.
All right, and then that looks like we're it in Discord. So I'll give people like 2 more minutes there. I'll check YouTube quick. Yeah, there's another one. Looks like similar question. Jabari Smith or Keyshawn George is the last piece. DKGPP.
Yeah, probably Keyshawn George.
Jabari Smith or Harrison Barnes forward on DKGPP.
Smith.
Yeah.
Is Smith like one of your guys' top ones? Because we got another one.
I'm kind of surprised. Maybe there's like one build people are landing on.
Because then we got Jalen Smith or Jackson Hayes last piece in FanDuel, but it's a single entry. Oh, single entry and tournaments.
Jalen Smith or Jackson Hayes.
Yeah.
That is deep diving right there.
Probably. I'd say Jalen Smith unless you have Vooch.
Yeah,
okay, Jalen Smith.
Don't play them together.
I see someone said thoughts on Torian Prince. Someone mentioned him, actually. I think it was Neil, maybe. Someone was talking about he was 4-4. Could be all right play.
I mean, he's in. He's fine. Should see extra minutes and get extra usage with no Giannis. So, yeah, I think Torian Prince is in play, not like a huge priority for me just because we have a lot of value on the slate.
All right. Scrolling. I'm not really seeing anything else. Guys, get last minute questions in. We got a minute to lock. I'll take like 1 or 2 more.
I forget what the cash game question was. I feel like I don't think that the combos that we're getting are like the cash game combos that I would get to. I just want to say that like you should be running lineup HQ and just like look at the top optimals, at least like look at the top, like run 100 with like no randomness on or anything like that. See which players come up the most, and that should be like kind of your player pool probably when you're building a cash lineup. So if you're looking at 2v2 combos that don't include those players, you probably want to rethink your cash game lineup.
Cool. Appreciate that.
We just got news that Portis is not starting, but I'm still going to play him because
he's still going to look great. Yeah.
And he's going to play.
That's crazy. All right. Can someone tell quick for David and chat the minutes for Sensabaugh?
1 second.
And if you guys know it's not going to be low and he shouldn't bother playing him, well,
I was getting him a little bit. He's probably going to be around 20. Let me see what we have in that. 16. So like definitely GPP only, very thin value.
Yeah, that's tough on a slate with so much value, just like hard to prioritize.
Gotcha. All right, I got 2 more questions and then we will wrap it up. I got Collins or Laurie in DK Cash.
In DK Cash. Hang on 1 second. Collins or Laurie. I don't think I'm getting to see. I don't think I would get to either of them, but let's.
All right, and I'll ask Taylor while we're waiting. I have one question that I got asked twice. FanDuel single entry. Do you think it's okay to fade Portis for guys like Sarr paired with Wemby and Kessler?
I think you can. I would play Portis everywhere and am playing Portis everywhere, but yeah, anyone that's going to be that owned, you can make a case for a fade because there is value in that range. You can consider like Sarr, like you said.
I'm getting to a little bit of John Collins and no Laurie Markkinen, it looks like in my cash set. So I guess I would go with John Collins over Laurie, just better point per dollar.
All right. Appreciate all the answers, guys. Thank you for bearing with me. We have hit lock. I am struggling to do all this at once, so I'm going to get out of here. So thank you to Neil. Thank you to Taylor. We appreciate you. We love you. We'll catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.